My name is Forrest Pearson, and my suggestion for the Yukon government's financial advisory panel is to bring an end to subsidizing oil and gas and propane usage in the Yukon. These subsidies occur because the fuel sales tax is not fully applied on oil and gas and propane usage in the Yukon, and by not fully taxing those products, the Yukon government's foregoing somewhere between $10 and $20 million a year in revenues. If those products were fully taxed appropriately, that could almost completely, or at least partially or almost completely, address the consolidated deficit that's forecasted. These subsidies occur sort of for two reasons. One is an explicit subsidy, where tax exemptions for the fuel sales tax come about or are given to heating fuel and for fuel usage by different industries such as mining, forestry, tourism, and farming. Maybe we do want to subsidize or support some of those industries that may be vulnerable or need additional support, and that's okay. But we should just support them directly as opposed to giving them a subsidy, giving those industries a subsidy for burning fuel, which really has nothing to do with their productive ability. So I would suggest bringing an end to those tax exemptions, and a tax exemption is by definition a subsidy. The second, what I would call a subsidy, is a bit more indirect, and that's because Yukon taxes fuel at the lowest rate in Canada, which is kind of odd since we don't actually produce any oil and gas. The tax rate on oil and gas in Yukon, the fuel sales tax, is half of that of the next province. The next lowest province is Alberta. For example, we tax gasoline at 6.2 cents a liter, where Alberta taxes at 13. So there's quite a bit of opportunity there if we taxed equivalent to the other provinces. Subsidizing these products, the use of these products, is, I think, is kind of perverse for the Yukon because, like I said, we don't actually produce those products, so we're not benefiting from the consumption of them economically. Two other reasons it's probably not attractive for the Yukon's economy is, one, every time we purchase those products, that money, that expenditure, directly leaves the Yukon's economy, so it doesn't stay in the Yukon. And so the second part of that is that we have fairly readily available and replacements for those products, the use of those fuels, or ways to easily reduce the consumption of those fuels. And if we did that, then all that expenditure would then stay in the Yukon and ultimately not result in economic leakage to the Yukon. So that's my suggestions for developing and building a sustainable financial future for the Yukon.